What's up, guys? Tim Bratz here. Welcome to another episode of Spill the Beans. Today I'm going to sit down with my buddy Mike Wingard, who's actually a fellow Clevelander who lives in Charleston, or actually a little bit south of Charleston now. And I love his perspective because he's going to be able to share how he flips businesses. Just like we flip real estate, he buys underperforming businesses, adds value in multiple different ways: personnel, operations, systems, processes, all those different kinds of things, and then turns those around in a few years and sells them for substantial profits. So I think you guys are gonna love this. Check it out. Spill the beans. Mike Wingard, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. I'm excited.
I'm excited that you're here, man. I appreciate you coming up. So tell me what you got going on. I know you got your hands on a few different businesses, right?
Yeah.
You got some of the education stuff going on where you're coaching other entrepreneurs, which I like. It gives us a different angle, right? We talk a lot about real estate on this just because I'm a real estate guy, but you're coming in from a perspective of businesses, specifically service businesses, and helping people scale up their service business in their local community, whatever that service business is. So I definitely want to hit on that while we're talking. And then, dude, you got several of your own businesses you're rocking and rolling with, and I want to hit on all of it, man. So tell me what you got going on. What are you working on right now since you came out to the mastermind at the lodge?
Yeah.
About 5 months ago?
Yeah, right. So, I mean, the biggest thing was we were able to separate our groups out. So we have an entry-level mastermind for the people that are just getting their business off the ground. They need that support and, all the tools and templates, systems to get them to zero to, $250K a year, right?
So what kind of businesses specifically are you guys looking at? And who's your target audience niche that you can really help and you provide the most value to?
Yeah, contractors, painters, landscapers, roofers, pressure washing companies, moving companies,
cleaning companies, anything that's a service type business that serves their local community.
Yeah, and I'm sure you see this all the time, right? Like, there's such a huge need for contractors right now. It's like the good ones can make a lot of money and really grow and scale their business. And I mean, that's been my background. I started a cleaning company, built it up in 3 years. It ran without me for 2 years, and then I sold that company this past September. I sold it right before the mastermind. And then I also started a moving company in Bluffton, and we just won Best Moving Company in Bluffton year one.
Love it, dude. That's awesome.
Did $400K in sales.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Proof of concept is there, and then I've also helped 50 to 100 people. I'd have to total it up, but people grow their businesses, to 6 and 7 figures. So,
dude, that's amazing.
Right.
So, and that's a big need, right? There's people who are like, I'm tired of working the job.
Yep.
I need to make the leap to starting my own business. How do I show proof of concept? How do I show that I can actually make some money?
Yep.
And this is a great, I think what you have serves a great need, because a lot of people hey, I got this skill set. I can swing a hammer. I can fix the electrical. I can hang lights. I can paint a house.
Yep.
I can go in landscape. But where I've always seen businesses fail in that regard, because as I'm scaling, I'm trying to scale my contractor with me. I'm trying to scale my exterminating company with me. I'm trying to scale all these other different businesses. And what I've always found is they're great at swinging a hammer.
Yep.
They're great at painting a house. They're great at exterminating bugs. But as soon as it turns into them having to run a business, everything implodes, right? I give them so much work, and they have to start hiring people, but they don't have the systems. They don't have the processes. They don't have the right people in place. They're not screening people and hiring people properly. Everything then implodes, and then I'm like, damn, and then I got to go find somebody else, right? I feel a sense of responsibility for them fumbling and not being able to make it the whole way because I put too much on their plate. So this is a big need. People understand the technical elements of business. They don't understand the business elements. And the business elements is really how you're able to scale up, So what do you guys talk about when you guys sit down? Show me or talk to me about if somebody sits down with you and you're like, hey man, I have a service company, I got a painting business. I had a painting business in college. If I come to you and I'm like, how do I scale this thing? How do you take a look at their situation, audit their current situation, and then help them put a plan in place to grow their revenue?
Yeah, and I think you could totally relate to this, right? It's actually a lot more simple than people think it is. We
all overcomplicate everything in our head, right?
it, right? So like for me, I would look at most of the people that we help, at least when they start out, it's usually them and like maybe a couple helper guys. Like, oh, my brother helps me occasionally, or well, I got one guy or whatever. It's like, all right, dude, how do you actually build a team? How do you put people that are going to come back year over year and stick with you? So it's like, what's your hiring process? Like you guys, how do you screen tenants, right? Like, how do you screen them? How do you bring them in? How do you build a culture? You know, like how you say that you're the most professional company in the area, but are you actually professional? Yeah. Are your guys uniformed? Are you licensed? Are you insured?
Are they on W-2 or are you 1099ing everybody?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So you want a real business. That was like a hard pill for me to swallow. I was like, I want to 1099 everybody. And somebody's like, dude, you want a real business or are you trying to like fly by night? Yeah. So you want a real business, then fucking perform like a real business. Do the things that real businesses do. Yeah. If you want to be seen as a credible expert and authority in your community, dude, you need those things. Yeah. So
and what's cool about it is like we fast track people. It's like, look, watch this video on exactly how we find, source, train, onboard, interview, all this stuff. Watch this video. Here's our interview packet. Here's the questions we ask and why we ask them, right? Like, so you just get access to all that stuff and then you can just implement right away. And then it's like anything else, like no tool, template, video is gonna run your business for you. But then you get that support, like, hey, I implemented this and now I ran into a dumpster fire. How do I fix this? It's like, dude, I'm glad you asked because I remember running into that 3 years ago.
Every time, man.
And here's how I did it. And then, you know, when you talked about having a real business, like we have a licensed CPA who's an authority in our group. So like he's making sure everyone's, you know, doing their books the right way. Like they're actually 1099ing people. They're running W-2s. And so we help people stay compliant too. Yeah, that's a big deal. So somebody comes in, you're looking at their current business, you're auditing it based on what their team looks like first. Yep. And then you're saying, hey, what are they doing in revenue currently? Most of the guys are going to be under 100,000 because that's really about the max that one person can do. It's like 100,000 in revenue. The owner's going to be taking home 60, 70,000 of that. Yep. And so it's like you've maxed out.
Because it's a service business, there's big margins because they're the ones actually performing the work. They don't have overhead. Well, they don't have employees.
Labor's
so
going to be
a little bit low.
Yeah, labor's going to be 40, 50% sometimes. Yeah. So
but if they're actively operating, they're taking part of that home. Exactly. So that makes sense. Yeah. All right. So what is the first hire?
Yeah.
When somebody comes to you and they're a solo act, and they're like, I remember vividly being like, how does somebody build a business? Yeah. Right? I'm working my ass off. I'm burning the midnight oil. I'm trying to, be a husband, be a dad, be a business owner. Yeah. And like, there's not enough hours in the day. And then somebody's like, well, guess what, dude? Bill Gates has the same 24 hours that we do. Right? Elon Musk has the same 24 hours that we do. Like, what's the difference? I was like, well, they must be doing something different, right? But I don't even know where to start. Yeah. So when somebody comes in and you create the awareness of what their organization currently looks like, where it should be or could be, right? Like, what's the next step if they're a solo act? Who do you say to hire first, typically?
Your first hire needs to be someone who can run a team. So you need to already have a leadership training program or a team leader training program in place that says, hey, after 30 days, here's where you need to be. After 60 days, here's where you need to be. And after 90 days, not only do you need to be out on your own doing everything, but you need to be training new guys that we bring in. And if you know anything about the business world, if you need one guy, you need three, right? So the mistake that a lot of people make is they hire one guy, that guy doesn't work out after 30 days or whatever, then they start over from zero. But they're not starting from zero, they're starting from negative because now they've got to go out and hire, they've got to source, interview, hire, onboard that person. So you need to hire 2 to 3 guys right away.
Well, dude, that's hard to get out of a mental barrier, right? Yeah. Because they're like, oh, well, I got to pay somebody $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year.
Nope. Dude, so a lot of people are like, well, I only have 45 hours of work. Great. Find 2 people, 20 hours a week, or 3 people, 15 hours a week. Whichever one does the best, give that guy more hours and bump him up.
I like that.
Because competition creates value. Like people are like, oh, well, I got like this.
They're driven more for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So, so as the owner of the business, once they hire those people, what's the owner doing? The owner is driving revenue and still going out driving revenue?
Yeah, so what you say all the time, right? Revenue generating activities. Yeah. Sales, and then also looking for employees. We had 4 whiteboards in our office when I was running my cleaning company, and one of those whiteboards always said ABH, always be hiring, right? Like we're always trying to hire new employees, and we're always trying to find new contracts. That is all you should be doing.
Always be prospecting.
Yeah.
Always be hiring.
Yeah.
I agree. So we're always prospecting for deals. Yeah. We're always prospecting for money in the real estate business. And we're always prospecting for new team members,
Yep.
you know, like A players, people that we can joint venture with. Maybe it's not hiring on as a W-2 employee, maybe it's a joint venture partner,
Yep.
or maybe it's a new supplier, maybe it's a new vendor, maybe it's a new, maybe it is a new W-2 employee, but like,
Yeah.
those are things that are always assets,
Yep.
you know, access to capital, access to marketing, essentially,
Yep.
and then access to people. Like those are three things that are big assets to your business, and you have to always be pumping and priming for those three things at all
Yep.
times, man. You can't take your foot off the gas on any of those at any time, because all of a sudden the other one or two of them will be cruising. You'll be like, oh shit, now I need to go find money. Oh
Yep.
shit, now I need to go hire more people. Oh
Yep.
shit, I have all these people, but I don't have enough revenue coming in because
Yeah.
I turned off the gas on the marketing efforts because we had so much deal flow coming in, and now we don't, right?
Yep.
You have to be doing all of them at the same time and just continuously fueling each one of those avenues,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you talked about getting over that mental barrier, right? Like, oh, dude, well, if I don't have any employees, how do I bring on 2 to 3? It's like, well, what do you want? Do you want your business to grow or do you not?
Yeah.
And it's a mindset shift, right? It's like good employees are assets, not liabilities, right? And that was part of the reason why I was able to sell my cleaning company so easily because I already had a team in place.
Yep.
These people have been with me for 3, 4, 5 years, and they stayed on with the new owner and are still there. No one has quit since the new owner has
Yep.
jumped in. So it's like a good employee will always make you money. So if you look at your direct payroll, it could be 25 to 40% on that job. So if I said, hey, dude, I'll give you $1, but you got to give 25 cents or 40 cents to this other guy. You do it every time, right?
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You just got to get over that mental barrier.
Well, everybody looks at staff as an expense.
Yeah.
And once you understand that it's an investment and it creates a return
Yeah.
on investment, hey, I'm paying this person $40,000, $50,000 a year, but they're generating $200,000 a year in additional revenue
Yeah.
for the company. Now it's a no-brainer. The key that I found, which I was horrible at, was one, screening
Yeah.
employees. Somebody raised their hand, said, I want a job. I'd be like, if you're dumb enough to come work for me, I'm going to give you a job.
Yeah, right.
You raise your hand, so come on. That's how it worked out for early on. And then I realized, like, I had a bunch of, I was king of the dipshits, you know what I mean? And it didn't go well.
Yeah.
And then I realized, all right, let's screen some people, interview some people, and ask some questions. But then they signed on, and then I didn't train them.
Yeah.
And now it's like, all right, I'm an entrepreneur, man. I make shit happen. I just go and figure it out. I'm resourceful enough, right? I expect you to do the same thing.
Yeah.
If they were resourceful enough, they would go and start their own business. They wouldn't
Yeah.
be an employee,
100%.
right? They're looking for direction. They're
Yeah.
looking for structure. They're looking for a process map on how to do their job. So that was my second time. And I had to fire my entire management company 2 times
Yeah.
inside the first 12 months that I started the management company because I didn't train people properly. It wasn't their fault, dude. It was my fault. And then the third thing that I found was you got to measure them. You got to measure that performance
Yep.
and stay on top of it and make sure that they're focused on the activities that do generate revenue or that you want them focused on,
Yep.
right? Because otherwise they're like, okay, it was trained, but what priorities
Yep.
do I need to be focused on?
Yeah.
And giving them certain metrics to really stay attentive to, realizing this is what matters, right?
Yep.
All the other shit is noise. This is what matters. Focus on these metrics. And for us, it's leasing, rent collections, things along those lines. That's what drives everything else. If those couple things are done,
Yep.
then everything else falls into place.
Yep.
So in the service industry, you start working on the team, right? So first, you're saying first hire should be somebody who can really train, essentially handle operations.
Yeah, somebody who would be a
Operations.
team leader or training manager that you see potential in to lead people. They have, it doesn't matter what hire you have, you always want to hire for attitude and train for skill, right?
100%.
So they've got to have a good attitude, but they also have to show you previous experiences that they have the ability to lead people. So even if they're young, dude, like were they captain of their football team?
Yeah.
Were they a part of, the school board or, you know what I mean? Like stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like they have those experiences.
Dude, somebody told this to me when I was in high school. They're like, oh, you're a real leader. I was like, why? And they're like, because like whatever Tim's coordinating
Yeah.
on a Friday night is what everybody ends up doing.
Yeah.
Because nobody else took the initiative to coordinate, hey, here's whose house we're going to, and then we're going to go and grab a bite to eat there, or, whatever. Like, it was always like, all right, let me organize, let me coordinate, let me get some people, come over to my house, and then we'll go over to, so-and-so's house. And I was always the one who was the driver of that. And if I didn't take the bull by the horns and coordinate that stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody stayed at home.
Yep.
You know, nobody did anything that night.
Yeah. It's literally.
So it's like that, right? Like,
yeah.
Who's the leader of the sports team?
Yeah.
Who's the leader of the friends, right? Like who's just like coordinating and organizing nights out or vacations, or like, if that's you, that's probably a pretty good indication that you got the ability to lead.
Yeah. Yeah, you know? It's literally the definition of leadership, right? Like, look behind you and see who's following you. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what it is. So if they show me those skills, like, I can teach them everything that they need to know about how to swing a hammer, how to paint a fence. Yeah. Like, it's really not that complicated. And I think that's the big mental barrier. Everyone thinks their business is so hard. Everyone, like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard it from different industries. Oh, it's impossible to train painters. You don't understand. Pressure washing is so much harder than painting. It's like, guys, it's all the same. It's all the same. It's literally all the same.
It's all the same.
And then I always ask them the question, well, how did you learn how to pressure wash a house? And they're like, well, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and then I went to a conference where they did demos. And I was like, if it's really that easy for you to learn how to do it, if you can hands-on work with someone and you are already the expert, how much faster are you going to be able to teach them than watching YouTube videos and going to a conference? Like, come on, man, don't be that prideful.
Yeah, man. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to kind of hit on, because I had a painting company, right?
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to relate, and I think I can ask a couple of key questions on service type people. So first of all, I want to back up though. Like, my first hire was an assistant to get non-revenue generating stuff off my plate.
Yep.
And I just kept driving revenue as that person. The second hire was another revenue driver.
Yep.
Who could go and drive more revenue, while then I tried to like build the team. I wasn't really good at building the team. Eventually I hired the ops person, which was your boy Matt Carlin actually. And then he was good at building the team and leading people in that regard. And I went back to kind of like generating more revenue and stuff, right? That's just more what I was better at. But my assistant has turned into an asset manager also, who kind of manages other people. So I think I agree that there needs to be somebody on the operations side, kind of to handle the non-revenue generating stuff. Yeah. Which is kind of, putting the feelers out there to try to get people to submit their resume, right? Yeah. And then to go through the interview process. That is something that doesn't generate revenue right now. Yeah. Whereas the owner, I'm going out driving revenue. One of the assistant or operations person's tasks should be doing that, as well as taking some other stuff off the plate. Yeah. Where I would say it's a little different for these local service providers, and you probably see this all the time, these guys are flooded with work. Yeah. Usually getting the work is the easy part. Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of people, they want to hire salespeople to go out and get contracts and stuff for them, but they don't realize like how easy it is to actually go out and get those contracts. And if people who join our group, like, we can set them up on email campaigns that email property managers, and it's literally as easy as being like, hey, I own a painting company. Can I get on your preferred vendors list whenever you have bids that come up? Dude, I own thousands and thousands of doors and can't find competent, reliable service people in the industry. Yep, exactly. But you can't get the... I'm begging for people to reach out to me saying, I'm reliable. I will get shit done on time, on budget, and do it in a quality fashion. Yeah. If you give me a chance. Dude, if there was somebody that reached out to me, like, I would give them limitless amounts of business. But not limitless, because I've done that before and then they collapse. But if they know business, dude, then... You always date people. I can help them scale, man. Yeah, you date people before you marry them, right? Like, so, you're going to give them a small property, right? You're going to give them a 12 unit. Right. How are you doing this? Then you might give them a 100 unit later, depending on how they do. And so, I mean, it's just as simple as setting up an email campaign that emails 1,000 property managers in their service area. Boom. Now you have work. Setting up a Facebook campaign that can run while you're out in the field. It's easy. You're going to get leads. All you got to do is field the leads and close the deals. But that's where a lot of people trip up, is they don't have those soft skills. Like, a lot of the contractors don't have the sales skills, kind of like the image that they need to have, and that's a lot of what we teach people how to do. Yeah. So what do you think that image needs to be? Professional. Right? Just professional, like, right? I love that you said that. And it wasn't like trying to be somebody that you're not. It's just, dude, just show some professionalism. Own your personality, own your look, own your vibe, but just be professional, right? Like, respond to phone calls, respond to inquiries, like, just follow up with people. How about showing up? Like, the biggest differentiator that I've seen, and it's fucking sad, the biggest differentiator that I've seen in this economy right now and over the past few years of being in business is if you just show up and do what you say you're going to do. Yeah. dude, you are head and shoulders above everybody else in the industry.
Totally. And
it's sad, but all you got to do is show up, man, and do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do anything more than that in order to excel. You are in the top 10% all day if you just do that.
Yeah, and it's so simple. Little things that people don't think about, we just try to remind them of. If you're going to a bid and you've got your nasty painting clothes on, you might want to keep a polo in your car when you show up and throw that polo on.
Yeah.
And, wear a watch, bring a bid sheet with you, take notes, hand them a business card. I mean, if somebody showed up and was professional like that, like they would almost automatically get the job.
That's it. Because you're going against everybody else who shows up with tattered pants and unprofessional, like shit, pages of paperwork blowing out of their door when they open up their truck door. Right?
And then, they hand you an estimate like on the back of a business card or like a piece of yellow paper. It's like, dude, get a CRM. It's $100 a month.
Dude.
Like, it's so simple, but we just teach people how to do that, how to follow up, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. No, that's good. That's important. So going back to the team. All right. So when you got a team in place, especially right now, being in the trades, you could get general laborers for $10, $15, $20 an hour.
Yeah.
How has the economy changed for you guys in the service industry over the past 18 months?
Yeah.
And hiring general laborers, price point, pricing, not only with the payments to them, but are you guys changing your pricing when you're going out there and doing bids and everything too, right? You got to, right?
Everything's going up like crazy. Yeah.
So is it harder to find people who are willing to do that work? Because reality is everything, fast food chains are paying $18 to $22 an hour for starting positions to shift managers or whatever, right? So that's who you're competing with. How do you compete with that? What are you guys paying people? How are you, like, what's the value add component that you can say, hey, here's why we're better, here's why you need to come with us?
Yeah. So I love that you said value add, right? Like, you as the leader of the company have to be able to not only add value to your employees by paying them a fair wage, but to be somebody that can help them get to the next level of their life. The reality is, like, most of these guys that are contractors, they're not going to do this for the rest of their life, especially employees, right? Like, they're going to come, they're going to work for a season, maybe 2 seasons, like you did in college, right? Or whatever, and then you're going to move on to something else. So what I always told our guys was, look, whether you work here for 6 months or 2 years or whatever it is, like, I want you to give me the best that you absolutely have, and I will do everything in my power to help you get to the next step of your life and where you want to be.
Yep.
And it takes the pressure off of them. They're like, oh, wow, like, Tim's not expecting me to build this company and be with them for 15 years. But, dude, I can do 8 months. Like, I can go here and work my butt off for 8 months, and then I'm like, well, what do you realistically want to do? And this is really
powerful,
important.
man. It's really powerful that you even asked that question, because nobody else has probably ever asked them what their goals are, what their ambitions are, or and even if they did, they definitely didn't ask, how can I help you? Right? How can I help you get there? That's a big differentiator in that industry and that type of worker, type of laborer. Right?
I see it happen so much. Like, people will show up their first day, laborer, painting company. They'll show up and they'll be like, hey, grab that paintbrush, get the ladder. And it's like, dude, this is the guy's first day. Like, he's like worried about coming here. He doesn't know what's going on. So we always had a rule in our company that they never perform the cleaning or the painting or whatever on the first day. First day they come in, we do all their paperwork, we get them set up, we get them their work uniforms, all this stuff. And then we take them to lunch and we introduce them to their team leader. And then we send them home at noon or whatever. And then at lunch, we're like, dude, tell me about yourself. Do you have a girlfriend? Like, do you have a dog? Oh, it's awesome. Where do you like to go on vacation? What do you like to do? What's the next step for you? Like, we realize you're not going to work here for forever. But, like, what do you want to do? Well, I'm actually going to school and I'm studying to be an engineer. It's like, oh, sweet. When you need a letter of recommendation, like, I'll write that letter for you.
Yeah.
Like,
work your ass off, man, and I'm going to give you the best letter of recommendation, right? Make sure. And I know some people who are engineers. Maybe I can even make some introductions for you whenever that time comes.
Yeah. And then we did a 2-week training process, and we were basically like, look, if you're late one time within 2 weeks, if you show up not in uniform within 2 weeks, you're automatically gone, right?
Yep.
Like, if you can't do something for 2 weeks, probably not going to work out.
Yep.
But the cool thing was, once they got through that 2 weeks, we gave them $1 an hour raise, so they already felt like, okay, sweet.
Yep.
And then we had a thing called Watch Gang, because I'm really into watches. And every month I would get watches sent to me randomly, different sizes and colors and all this stuff. And I had this whole vault of watches, and they were anywhere from $100 to $300 watches. And I'd be like, hey, Tim, dude, I want to welcome you to the team. Pick one of these watches out. And they're like,
that's cool.
They're like, dude, like, really? And then they go home and they Google it and they're like, dude, this is like a $300 watch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the guys like started tearing up and he's like, dude, I have an interview coming up for, you know, jobs for college and like now I have a nice watch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And when you do that after 2 weeks?
After 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it like people feel obligated to stay.
Yeah.
Like even if you just give them something.
Yeah. Yeah. You're making an investment in them, man.
Yeah.
You're actually giving a shit when nobody else typically gives a shit. You know, they're looking for laborers instead of actual, you know, people. When you're hiring people, do you hire them? Do you ever say, hey, listen, here's where the role that you're interviewing for right now, but here's where our company's going, right?
100%.
And here's where you could be in 12, 24, 36 months from now if you do decide to stay with us. As the company grows, I'd love to see you grow with it. Here's what the commitment would need to look like.
Yeah.
Here's what I would need to see over the next 12 to 24 months.
Yep.
But if you're willing to make the commitment, you show you that you work your ass off and that you can problem solve and that you're, you know, a trustworthy, reliable, loyal person. Dude, I'd love to promote you to the second position, third position, that kind of thing.
Yep, that's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
And when you talked earlier about setting expectations, that's a mistake that people make. They'll be like, dude, if you work your butt off and you do this and that, that's so vague, right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to actually have everything laid out, right? So one of our criteria, if they wanted to be any type of team leader, training manager, was you have to be cross-trained on every task in the company. Whether you like doing that part of the job or not, you have to know how to do it all.
Yeah, you got to know.
And we actually had a guy, he took a pay cut to come work for us, like a $2 an hour pay cut, and I showed him that vision. And it's been 3.5 years, and he's the operations manager, right-hand man to the new owner. He does everything for that company. And he's on salary, and yeah, he's doing great.
I love it. So we do the same thing. Like when I sit down with somebody, I'm like, what are your goals? What are your ambitions? You know, what do you have going on? Like, here's what the next 12 to 24 months could look like, and here's where I could see some things going over the course of the next. And I think it paints like a longer term vision, right? They have something to look forward to. They have something to say, you know what? Like, this is more than just a job. It could turn into a career or maybe even a partnership if that person really works their ass off and can invest into some sort of profit share or equity or revenue share or something along those lines. And so, but I think it really incentivizes performance and a lot of loyalty, you know? I was watching something with Simon Sinek, and he was talking about, he had this graph, and it showed a graph of like SEAL Team 6 and like Delta Team and like all these high performance military groups that the U.S. military has, and it's this graph that shows level of loyalty based on level of skill set / competency is essentially what it was. And they don't take the people with the highest competency. They take the people with a little bit lower competency with the highest level of loyalty, because those are the people who are willing to fall on a grenade for the team, right? And they see the bigger vision, and they see the bigger component, right? The bigger opportunity, right? And they understand the bigger mission instead of just thinking about themselves, right? And so, but nobody, like there's not a quantifiable way to measure that loyalty, right? But I've understood, like, the reason my team is so badass is because I have an awesomely loyal team. But I've had that conversation with, like, if this is ever not for you, you know, don't feel bad about coming to me. Tell me what the next step looks like for you, and let me help you get there, right? If you want to go start your own business, go and start it, right? I'll help you out with whatever that looks like. I don't ever want anybody feeling bad coming to me. Just, you know, do the right thing and tell me instead of just bailing at the last minute, right? And I'll help you out the entire way. But also, here's where we're going, right? Whatever that opportunity looks like, you want to make more money, I'm going to create that opportunity for you. So that way you can drive that, right? And I think it has created a lot of loyalty with my team. Where, you know, most people on my team have been with me. My core group has been with me for 7 years now. You know? And
you can feel it. Like, I went to the mastermind in the lodge in North Carolina, and like, you guys just all work well together. And I remember people commenting at the mastermind, like, how do you get people to like bond together? And well, dude, the reality is, like, it takes a long time for people to become close and like want to do, you know, buy into the vision and all that stuff. But now that you have all this momentum and like a really good team, when you integrate somebody into it, it's like a pressure cooker. You're gonna find out a lot faster if they're gonna actually work out or if they're not. Because all the guys are gonna be like, what the heck is up with this guy?
Yep.
Like, he's not showing up on time. Like he's just like not with it, you know? But then when a good guy comes in, they're just gonna get swallowed into the group and be like, dude, I love this guy. He's awesome, you know? And here's the thing that I want people to hear is progress is messy and it takes time. So when you're and building a team takes the longest time out of anything that you're going to do in your business. So you have to be committed to building a team. And you know, you made that commitment when you said like, I didn't train people right. It's like, all right, I'm going to make the commitment. I'm going to build a rock star team, and now it's a lot easier to grow that team now that you have it.
When you try to half-ass everything, you get a half-ass, you give it a half-ass effort, you get a half-ass result, you know? And that's way more expensive than just building it the right way from the get-go, right? Yeah. It sucks to press the reset button over and over and over again in business and with a team, and I had to do that, right? But once I was like, fuck, just draw a line in the sand, let me do this thing the right way, attract the right people, pay them the right wage, train them the right way, measure them the right way, compensate them the right way. All of a sudden, it just changed. I attracted more quality people to the organization. You know, so it's a game changer. How are you guys compensated? What if somebody doesn't? Well, I guess the revenue is not really an issue in the service business right now.
It's a cash business. You're always getting paid right then and there, pretty much.
Yeah. So that's not really the issue. It's making sure you have the right team in place. Yeah. When I had my painting company, this is 2005, 2006, and I guess it was okay going out, and people were still making money and stuff back then. But really, what I found was like I don't like paying people on an hourly in the service business. Yeah. Not for doing the painting thing, right? Yeah. Because if I'm going to go give a homeowner a quote, I'm going to say, hey, to paint the exterior house, it's going to be $4,000. Yeah. I know I got this much of a margin built in. Yep. And if I'm not properly managing the team, then it's going to eat up my entire margin, right? Yep. And I don't make any money on this thing. At the same time, like, how do you put that responsibility on my team? So what I ended up doing was I said, hey, based on how I'm quoting it, like this, I don't know, 300 square feet of wall should take this much time to paint. So, Mike, if you paint it in, it's going to be 3 hours of paint. But if you paint it in 2 hours, I'm paying you for 3 hours worth of work. Yeah. If it takes you 4 hours, you're still getting paid for 3 hours worth of work. Yeah. And you're signing off on it. I'm signing off on it. So it keeps everybody held accountable and forces that efficiency and effectiveness. And if you don't do it well, then you got to go back on your own time and your own dime in order to go and touch it all up, right? Yeah. Have you guys structured compensation that way, or you guys just stick to hourly, keep it clean?
Hourly for the most part, but it depends on the person. If they're a manager, they've got to have some type of buy-in to the project, especially if it's a big project. So that's where I would say it depends on the job and the industry. If it's like an hourly, or if it's like a small, like few $100 ticket or whatever, just pay them hourly and all that. But I mean, you're talking a $4,000 job, maybe I would. Like, so for example, we used to get big cleaning contracts, like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 jobs. And I would say, hey, this is what you're going to get paid to do this job. And then you're also going to get a percentage of the profits, but they're managing like, 10 or 20 guys on a job. Yeah. So they've got to have a lot of pull with it, Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say for a residential painting job, just pay the people hourly. Yeah. And I think that's the tough part for people like you and I, because we don't operate that way. Well, if I could work faster and do better, I can make more money. Yeah. But people don't think that way.
That's a good point.
They want to know, how much am I going to make? Yeah.
Exactly how much. And dude, it worked out really well for some people. Yeah. And then it blew back big time for a couple other people, right? And they take forever to paint a door. They're going to get paid $150 to paint that door, and it takes them 3 hours, and all of a sudden, or 5 hours, or whatever, and they just don't get it done. It's just, now they're like, what the hell, man? I'm not making any money here. Yeah. And then there's other people who are like, dude, I'm crushing it. Yeah. Let me bring on some of my boys. Yeah. So it's, I don't know. Do you weed out? It's a tough labor market right now. Yeah. Right. It's really difficult to find great labor force, people who actually want to work. Yeah. And
but here's the thing, like, I hear that all the time, and I agree with what you just said, right? But it doesn't matter what business you're in, something's always going to be hard. Yeah. So, like, for you with real estate, it's like, hey, the deal flow is not where it used to be. but the money's there,
Yeah.
right? And then, you know, maybe that'll change down the line.
Yeah.
There's always going to be something hard.
There's always opportunity and obstacle, right?
Exactly. So it's the same thing with this.
So where's the opportunity here now with the current labor market?
The opportunity is we're in the gig economy. So people don't necessarily want to work 40 hours a week and bust their butts. Like,
good point.
You need to find people that want to work 20 hours a week and work really hard for those 20 hours that maybe they're going to school or they're trying to start their own business or whatever, and just get the best 20 hours a week you can out of them. And then you're going to find some people that do want to work 40 hours a week or 50 or whatever. Put those guys on salary, pay them well, treat them like kings, and then bake in all those 20-hour-a-week guys around them, right?
Yeah.
Because
I like that. It's a different kind of model, right?
If people are going to call off, people always say like, oh, people don't care about their work anymore. They're going to call off all the time. Well, you know, try to find people who do care, right? Like screen them better. But at the same time, like if you have 3 guys and one guy doesn't show up, well, you still have 2 guys, you know,
Yeah.
like I would double and triple down on your labor right now.
Yeah. I like it, man. I like it. That's good. So people come in, you look at their current organizational chart, you look at their current financial
Yep.
situation, right? You put some right things in place, help them build up the team. Once they start having a couple team members, now what's next?
Multiple crews, duplication, right?
Just duplicate it, multiply it, like just do it again, do it again, do it again. Up to what point? Up to what level? Like what's the goal that they're going towards? What's the
Yep.
finish line look like?
Yeah, for most people, it's going to be a 7-figure service company. So, like, you can build a 7-figure service company with 4 trucks, 5 trucks, you know?
Yeah.
And so the goal is to kind of run it like a McDonald's, so to speak, right? Like every truck is going to look the same. They're all going to have the same tools on them. They're all going to have the same checklists, you know, all that kind of stuff. And here's the thing, like, and I've told myself this so many times that, oh man, it's just like a local service business. We're not really going to be able to make any money with it. Dude, I know one of the guys in our group, he makes almost $5 million a year, and he takes home about 20% of that. So he's making $1 million a year running an HVAC company.
Yeah.
And his team told him that he needs to take 90 days off completely away from the company because they don't need him anymore.
Yeah.
So like, that's a pretty good gig, man. So like,
So short term would
Yeah.
be drive it to minimum 7 figures.
yeah,
And then once you get 7 figures, how do you get yourself out of the
management team.
Because now you get the revenue coming in.
Yeah.
Now you got to put the right people in place. It's tough for a lot of businesses to start hiring those executives
Yep.
because you're making enough money where you know you got something that actually works now,
Yep.
but not enough to maybe pay a $150,000 a year salary. But in the service business, you kind of do because it's such a high margin business
Yep.
where it can justify that. Or if you pay, how would you suggest bringing on that COO level?
Yeah.
If it's hard to pay a $12,000-$15,000 a year salary,
Yeah.
are you giving profit share? Are you structuring it like that?
Yeah.
More of a base with
Base
on
plus
top.
incentives and vacation time, 401k, and all that stuff's
a
really
real
easy
career.
Yeah, and all that stuff's really easy to set up. I mean, we use ADP for our payroll. I mean, it was as easy as making a phone call. Hey, we want to set up a 401k. Okay, it's done. And then there's tax benefits to that, right? Like it was as easy as calling my insurance agent and being like, hey, I want to put a company health insurance policy in. Boom, like within a week we had it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, hey man, we can put on there that we offer health benefits, we offer 401k.
Yeah.
So that's really what you want to do. And here's the other thing is like, these businesses are labor intensive, but they don't require a lot of managers or leadership, right? Like you could have, on a $5 million company, you could have a sales manager, a service manager, and a general manager all making $50,000 base plus incentives. Maybe they're making, $75,000 to $100,000 a year. I mean, you got 3 guys, let's say on the high end, are all making $100,000 a year. That's $300,000 in payroll for your management team that can run a $5 million company.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
That's real sweet, man. And it gives them all an opportunity to drive more revenue.
Yeah.
And hey, you want a raise of 3%, 5%? No problem. You just drive more revenue.
Yeah.
You can give yourself a 10% raise if you just drive more. It keeps them all focused on that revenue line. Like don't go too far from the revenue line. Stick to the revenue line. Revenue solves all problems.
Yep. And then as the owner of the business, the benefit is you get all your time back, right? So you're having your weekly meetings, maybe your daily check-ins with your leadership team, and then everyone else below them is managing up to those people. So you're only really dealing with the management team that's saying, hey, this is the problem, this and that. And then you can start doing stuff like investing in real estate. You can go and start other businesses. You can start your own coaching platform, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. At what point would you say it's okay to go and start a second business where you're not spreading yourself? You know, we've all seen the serial entrepreneurs, right? And they got their hands in a bunch of different things. I got my real estate license, and I got this other business over here. I got that, and they're not making any money because they're not focused, and none of them are real businesses.
It's
you know?
a struggle.
Yeah,
it really is.
So at what point would you be like, okay, go start a second business? Is it once it's? I would say once you totally replace yourself, and you're not needed in your business. You come in once a week, and you measure some KPIs once a week, and make sure everything's humming along, moving along. Everybody has what they need. You offer any sort of connections, resources, whatever, in order to make their life job easier. And then, dude, get the hell out of the way. And if you get your business to that point where you can literally spend 4 hours a week on that business, dude, now you can go and start looking at secondary opportunities. At least that's how I would see it.
Yeah, 100%. I was working less than 5 hours a week in my business. And the thing that was like the biggest thing for me was I went to the office and I felt obligated to be there because it's my business. So I'm there hanging out, and our general manager at the time was like, you know, talking to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, what about this? What about that? And I was just BSing with him. I wasn't even talking work. And he's like, Mike, I like talking to you, dude, but go home. I got some stuff to do. And I'm like, I went home. It's during the busiest, when we did 150,000 in 1 month, and I was like, man, I should be like stressed to the max. And I'm swimming with my kids in our pool, you know, like, and that's when it clicked for me. It was like, okay, I can actually start doing some stuff. And then for the second business that you start, don't buy another job, right? Like, be able to put your foot on the gas as much as you want, or pump the brakes, because if something does happen in your other company and you need to be more involved with it, you need to be able to jump back into that.
That's a good point.
So that's where I would say, like, maybe don't start a company from scratch. Maybe buy a business that's already got some momentum, and then you can be like, all the skills that I've learned on how to put a team in place and all that stuff. I became an investor. Like, I helped start that moving company.
I love that.
So I wasn't in the day-to-day operations, but I was still able to act like it was my own business.
So, two things. Well, I want to hit on that, right? Moving into the second business, buying versus starting, right? But first, I want to go back to you being the bottleneck in your business, right? And getting beyond. Like, I always thought my team wanted to see me in the office. My team, you know, it's my company, right? Tim's making the majority of the profits and making the most money. So they want to see me working the most. Dude, the reality is, every time I go back to Cleveland, Ohio, and I walk into my office, you know, I go upstairs, I'm bullshitting with the guys. They're like, get out of here, like leave, because I'm trying to get work done. And they're out there. They don't want me there. I create chaos every time I walk into the office. Right? And they're trying to control order, you know? And you're like, dude, come up with your ideas and bring them to us once a week, right? We don't want you in the office. And it was hard for me to get past of, like, it's a story, right? Like we talked about earlier. We all make it up in our head. Everything's more convoluted, more complex, and more difficult in our head than it really is. And if you just look at the situation, you ask, hey, do you want me here? Can you do more if I'm not here? Like, where do you want me to provide value to you so that way you can do your job at the highest level? Well, hey, Mike, I want you to do this, this, and this. To me, it was getting the hell out of operations, because I just created chaos. They're like, dude, go and raise more money. And go and bring more buyers for our turnkey sales properties, and go and, you know, just drive more revenue or deal flow or whatever. Just keep doing the social media thing, because that helps everybody else. And then I just doubled down on that. Now they know, like, they don't expect me to be involved in operations in any capacity. They just want me going out and driving social media, right? This kind of stuff. Because every time I post on social media or make a new video or create new content, it drives new opportunities for our team to get involved in, new investors who want to invest in our projects, or you know, vendors, suppliers, contractors, you know, service companies, employees, or joint venture partners. Like, it helps everybody in our team with all those other things. And I'm the fuel that drives each of those engines. But the engines all run on their own, right? They just need me to keep on fueling it. But even if I'm really fueling growth, not necessarily sustainability, right? Everything could run on its own if I left for the next year. But to grow, I'm still a little bit the bottleneck, because I'm signing on loans, right? I'm involved in that process. But yeah, I think get out of your own head, right? Just like get out of your own head, and you're like, holy shit, the business actually hums along better when I'm not here, when I'm not the bottleneck in this thing.
And here's the thing, it's like we call it the ego death, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would you hire a rock star employee and then tell them what to do all the time.
Yeah.
And I used this example one time, and it really hit home for one of the guys in our group. I was like, look, imagine you're teaching your daughter how to color inside the lines. And she starts coloring, and then you take the crayon out of her hand and say, no, I can do this better than you. Like, what does that do for them?
Doesn't teach them, doesn't give them more confidence,
Yeah.
doesn't give them autonomy at all.
So
Right?
it's the
That's a
same
great
thing.
analogy.
So if you're constantly jumping in and telling them how to do their job, and like you said, creating that chaos for them, not only is your company not going to grow, it's going to regress.
Yep.
You know, so
That's a great point. And dude, you got to let them color outside the lines a little bit.
Yep.
That's
tough.
tough to do. You're like, fuck, that's my money. You know, I just
Yeah.
lost money on it.
Yeah.
But dude, they're gonna feel it harder if they lose your money than even their own money.
They
you know?
do, yeah.
So if you let them go and make that mistake, and they're like, oh my god, I screwed up. Let's go grab lunch. All right. So what did you learn? All right, it's not gonna happen again, dude. I
Yeah.
trust you. You know. Now we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it even better the next time, right? Yeah. Oh my God, this is such a relief. You know, they put so much pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
But dude, you got to give them the ability, give them permission to go and mess up.
yeah,
Think about how much we messed up
yeah,
growing our businesses. So much, but we gave ourselves some grace because it was us. You know,
Yeah.
like you can't expect a new hire to come in and not mess up. Like let them mess up. Let them get educated.
Yeah.
It's going to make them sharper and more impactful to your
Yeah.
company in the future. You know?
We do this in our top level mastermind, which is I'm wearing right now, Legacy League. We do 90-day action plans, right? And so one of the things I tell people in the 90-day action plans, tell me about some of the mistakes that your employees are going to make, or tell me about some of the things that are going to go wrong. And we just get it all out there. And they'll be like, yeah, I think like, you know, they'll just make up scenarios. They'll be like, yeah, you know, guy's going to run over a sprinkler head and, you know, damage the mower or whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. And we'll document all of it. And then when we get done with the call, I'll be like, look, so when this happens at some point and someone breaks your mower, we're not going to get upset about it, right? Because we already bake it into the plan, right? So people's expectations.
That's a great point.
People only get frustrated when their expectations aren't met. So like you were talking about with money. If you tell someone they're going to make 100,000 and they make 50, they're going to be upset. If you tell someone they're going to make 40 and they make 50, they're going to be happy. So when I tell people, look, if you're expecting bad stuff to happen and you bake it into the plan, now it's just a part of the process.
Yep. Love it, dude. It's such a good point. Dude, I love the team building side of things because that's really
It's my
the game
favorite.
changer, man.
Yeah.
That's the hardest to kind of like get over mentally.
Yeah.
At least it was for me. But then, dude, once you realize the magic in it, it's life changing. It literally is, because, dude, not only for you but also for them. You're creating amazing opportunities for people that wouldn't have the opportunity unless you had the balls to go and start your business.
Yeah.
And then bring on that staff and bring on those, you know, that overhead and continue to just drive. Now you're creating amazing opportunities for people. So let's go back to the other thing I want to hit on, which is like buying a business.
Yeah.
So what do you look for when you're going to buy a business?
Yeah.
What are you looking for currently of how it's operating, and then where it could be of where you want to take it?
Yeah. So it's like you evaluate real estate, right? Like value add.
Yeah.
So for me, like the biggest value that I can add is systems, teams, and, you know, some marketing, sales tactics, things like that. So I want to look for a company that has a good name in the community, very reputable, a lot of reviews, is cash flowing, it's making good money, but maybe like they don't have a great team, like they've you know been trying to build their team up. They've got a manager who's not doing their, like, I'm going to fire that manager as soon as we get in there, you know, and I'm going to put my guy in there. That's really what I'm looking for. A company that gets a lot of searches on Google, because you already know, like, if they've been in business for 15 years, like, they're probably getting flooded with calls because their website's been around for forever. So if you can take that engine that's already making calls, and like you said earlier, like, a lot of times they're probably not even picking up the phone.
Yeah.
So, like, you could literally go in and add $100,000 of revenue by being like, look, Tim, every time the phone rings, within 20 minutes, answer it or call them back and make a lot more money.
Yep. So how do you find those businesses?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's...
I mean, there's business brokers, just like there's
Yeah.
real estate brokers who buy and sell
Yep.
businesses. And a lot of times in service companies, like, it's expected that you're going to carry back seller financing with a little bit of a down
100%.
payment. Like I mean, you sell property, or you sell your businesses that way, and you buy businesses that way,
Yep.
right?
Yep, that's what I do with mine. I sell her
So you're finding motivated sellers. Is it, you know, Hey, I ran my business for 25 years. I want to retire. My kids don't want anything to do with it.
That's exactly what it is.
Right?
Those are the best people. You want to find the owner that's like, dude, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I've had enough.
I'm tired of managing this property.
Yeah.
I'm tired of managing this business. I'm like, dude, it's the same. There's so many parallels in flipping properties or buying apartment buildings and buying businesses, all right, and flipping businesses.
Yeah, I mean, there was actually a guy that I offered to buy his business, and he was so tired. I was going to buy his window cleaning company and add the customer list to my company. He was so tired that he didn't even want me to buy it. He just said, every time somebody calls this number, I'll tell them to call you. I'm like, man, dude, so you want to look for those guys.
Just forward it to me. You know?
Yeah, I offered to buy the phone number, and he's like, no, I don't want anything. I'm just so done with it. So find those people.
But he cares enough about his clientele that he wants to make sure that they're taken care of, right? Like that's.
I literally went to his house and knocked on his door and was like, hey, he's like, dude, I've been flooded. Everyone wants to buy my business, and I just want to fade off in the sunset. I got a camper. I'm going to travel the country. I don't want anyone to talk to me. But I made enough of an impression on him, and he saw that I was like a young gun that really wanted to build. And he was like, I want to pass this on somehow.
That's awesome.
So it's cool, but that's what I would look for.
How'd you find that person?
Well, people started calling my company and being like, dude, I've been using this company for years, and they're not answering their phone anymore. Phone? Yeah, and then I tried to call the number, and it was like, this number's no longer connected anymore.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And then you look the guy up, on Secretary of State website, find out what his mailing address is,
and all these
like
guys,
a registered agent, and you just go knock on his door or send him a message.
Yeah, and I mean, most of these people don't have offices, so it's just gonna be their personal residence. Right. Super easy to find.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then network.
They're not paying. They don't have an in-house attorney. They probably don't even have like an attorney on retainer or anything. So like they're getting mail straight to their house. They are the registered agent for their business.
Yeah, and then network with business brokers. They're gonna find those deals for you. That's gonna be the first call that they make.
So what's obviously you're in the service business, so you're probably looking for businesses that aren't doing $1 million,
right?
And you're trying to make them do $1 to $5 million,
that's
right?
Exactly it.
And then you're flipping out of those. Are you selling those typically?
Yep.
Seller financing it to some other operator.
Yeah.
Who are the operators that you're selling these businesses to?
So the main people that I like with our moving company, I found 2 people that wanted to own and operate a company but didn't know how to do it. So I said, look, give me equity in the deal. I'll help you build this company up. I already know how to do it. And then I actually just went back to them recently and said, look, like we can do a buyout now, or I can stay on as the company's growing, and we're kind of just working through that. But I would try to find a couple like rock star operators that want to do it with you and be like, look, yeah, Tim, I know you want to have your own painting company. I'll put you in this business. We'll put you on a salary plus bonus or whatever, and you'll have equity in the company. So now they're bought in. And then we do like a
trying to find one of the employees who are already a badass. Yeah, that's already there.
Yeah, an employee or somebody that you know in your network. Hey, I'm thinking of buying this painting company. You want to come on, and I'll pay you a salary and give you equity in the deal. And like I said, leveling with people, right? I tell people straight up, look, like my goal is to not hold on to this business forever, because people get like, this is my baby, this is my business. I tell them, look, 3 to 5 years, I'm going to be out of here, but I'm going to help you go from 500 to 3 million, and then, I just want my portion, and I'll get the heck out. Yeah. And everyone wins.
Got it. Love it, dude. No, it's so good. Is that the typical timeline too? 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So driving that. What are you doing from a marketing perspective? Are you guys trying to move as much of this stuff into like e-commerce and automations online? I would assume, I don't know, when I look up a service company, I jump on Google, right?
Yep.
And I search it, look at reviews, and I call the top ones.
Yep.
What do you guys do a lot in that front?
Yep. So we don't do as much
websites. Like how important is some of that?
It's important, but there's 2 types of marketing, right? There's active and there's passive. Passive is a website. Now, I hope that somebody goes to my website and calls me.
Yeah.
I like to be active.
Yeah, it's like hunting versus fishing,
100%.
Right? Like you put some lures in the water, and maybe sometimes they bite, but it's not quantifiable, really. It's very difficult unless you've been in business for a long time to do that. The hunting side of things is, dude, I'm going to go and make 100 phone calls, and I'm going to generate this much revenue, or I'm going to pay for ads on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Are you guys doing some of that stuff? And I'd assume, dude, 98% of businesses, service businesses, are not doing any of that stuff.
They're not doing any of it.
Nobody is, right? So if you are, You're the only one doing it, dude, and it's just driving a ton of revenue to you.
Yeah, it's blue ocean versus red ocean. And for those of you that don't know what that means, like when red ocean's like there's a lot of sharks in the water, and they're all eating each other, and there's blood in the water.
Yeah.
Blue ocean's like everyone's swimming, everyone's got plenty to eat, everything's good. I mean, that's like social media and the email marketing and all of that. Like no one's doing that. So like I actually teach people how to do this. Like you can get a list of property managers and restaurant owners and business owners. You can just find a list of 1,000 of those people, and you can set up an automated email drip that just pings them once a month. Hey, like, this is me, this is what we do. Can I get on your preferred vendors list, or can we meet up, or whatever? Then the next month's like, hey, just wanted to follow up, you know, like haven't heard from you, or whatever. And every month it's just doing that. And then that gets their foot in the door.
Yeah.
And then after that, I mean, it's the 80-20 rule, right? Like 20% of the people control 80% of the money.
Well, I like that you're, exactly. I like that you're going to the big businesses who drive all that stuff, can give you the repetitive business, because, you know, hey, you find an individual consumer that has one house, and you're going to do business with them one time or a couple times a year.
Yeah.
Versus the bigger revenue driver, which is the management company or some of these larger liaisons, I guess.
Yeah.
And dude, they can just keep on feeding you business over and over. And all you got to do is show up and execute. Show up and execute. Show up and execute, man. And it's like, it's so much. That's one less thing I got to worry about now.
Yeah,
you know?
Think about this. I'm sure you dealt with this in painting, right? Like you're always out trying to find new residential painting jobs. Once you do it,
knocking on doors over and over again.
Think about this. Everyone's like, oh, you don't understand. Like my business is seasonal. You know, like it goes up and down. And I'm like, no. Eliminate your seasonality, right? And the way you do that is you get enough recurring monthly revenue to keep your lights on every month.
Yeah.
So like whatever business you're in, you've got to find that recurring monthly revenue. So that's where going to the property managers that are like, look, we might not be able to give you these big projects, but we can give you $2,000 a month in this recurring work. It's like, sweet. That pays for, you know, build that up.
Are there ways to put subscription plans in place for service companies?
Yeah.
Like obviously for the cleaning service, you're like, hey, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
You know, what about like a painting company?
Yeah,
like
touch-ups. Build it in.
Touch-ups?
Yeah. Build it in. Tell them like, hey, we're going to come back at this time. You know, we've already got your samples. We already know what to do. Like, schedule their next appointment while you're there, right?
Yeah.
And then you can even give them a price break or, you know, break it out however. And I mean, the other thing that I actually met with Darren Finan last night. We were talking about this exact thing is like, just get resourceful. Be a reference for other companies in the area and broker deals for them, right? So like if a customer's like, hey, you know, like I need a roofer, do you know anyone, right? Like build a relationship with them where you can pass referrals and then pick up some of the income from them, right?
Yeah, dude, I love it, man.
But yeah, the recurring monthly revenue and then building in those service plans is the way to go.
I love it. You ever talk to owners who don't want to sell because they're afraid of like, what am I going to go do?
Yeah.
How do you get beyond that? Do you like, I mean, here's my thought process.
Yeah.
I got a good buddy who is actually on here, who's got a gym.
Okay.
Right. And people who own gyms typically do a few $100,000 a year in revenue.
Yep.
A lot of overhead, a lot of staff, a lot of equipment, a lot of shit like that. They take home $50,000 to $75,000 a year, right? As an owner operator.
Yeah.
He clears $200,000 to $300,000 per gym.
Yeah.
He's got 4 of them right now, and he's opening 3 more. Absolute rock star because he's built out a system that really focuses on like children's programs.
Okay.
Okay. And it's like he's got a martial arts gym. So I was gonna be like, he's got this ninja process in play. Like literally it is ninja, right? And so he's so friggin' good at it. And he's going out, he's trying to open up new gyms, but he's starting, you know, from the ground up. He's got to put all the marketing in.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, instead of opening 3 gyms, what if you open 30 next year?
Yeah.
Not by opening 30, but what if you went in to other gym owners? And dude, you could do this with gymnastics.
Yeah.
You could do this with an actual weightlifting gym. You could do it with a ballet studio. You could do it with other martial arts studios, not just Taekwondo, but it could be karate, it could be jiu-jitsu, it could be Krav Maga, it could be whatever. I was like, why not go into those business owners and say, hey, they don't want to sell. They need something to do.
Yeah.
They're doing $300 a year in revenue. You keep the first 300. Let me come in and take you to $1 million. Everything over $1 million, we split. All the net profits over $1 million, we split 50-50 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that gets you into a deal that you don't have to bring any money to.
Yep.
It's already established. You can come in and bring your systems in place.
Yeah.
You know, leverage the same CPA like you guys do and the same bookkeeper, so you know everything's done and dialed in and organized and same, and then bring those systems and processes, take them from 300 grand to $2 million a year in revenue, or $1 million, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, they're not netting 50 grand, they're netting 200,000. They keep the first 50. You get 75 grand without having to bring any money. Right? Half of whatever it is. They're making 125 now, the owner operator. They're taking on all the responsibility, liability, headaches, all that stuff. You're coming in as kind of like a limited partner almost, just as an advisory capacity. Dude, getting paid in a way that I was like, you can go and do that, and you can have scale with a coaching platform or a mastermind almost. That you hop on a phone call, you coach them through it, and then you hire one. And, dude, you do that with 30 businesses, make an extra $75,000 a year instead of 200 on 3 different businesses. You can make a lot more money without all the overhead. What do you think about that?
So there's 2 ways to go about it. First way is franchising, right? Franchising is cumbersome. It's really expensive.
I heard it's tough, dude.
Yeah, and a lot of people are kind of getting away from it. I mean, franchise disclosure documents are like 150 pages, illegal mumbo jumbo, and it's like, look, if you don't do this, then this happens, and we revoke your license. It's like
your
whole thing.
You're in a headlock as the operator. It's expensive, and you're like, I'm doing all the work, and you're not helping me enough. Right?
Exactly.
I feel like from a coaching perspective, you can be involved, and they can see the value.
So here's where the second one is licensing what you have. So basically, you take all the tools, systems, templates, process, everything you have, and you put a package together, and you say this package is $10,000, right? Or whatever it is. Like I know a guy who actually does this in the local service industry. He's like, look, it's $1,000 a month per truck that you have on the road. That gives you everything that I have, right? And then it's a percentage of revenue that they bring in, and then they get to use that person as like an advisor, basically. So that's a way to grow and scale it. I mean, he's got dozens of companies that are.
I mean, it's essentially what I built with Legacy Family, right? Legacy Family is an advisory board for your real estate business, or really any business. Primarily real estate or real estate investors, or somebody who's in that world. For $1,000 a month, you don't have to take on all that overhead. It's essentially a royalty type thing, but it's coaching, it's education, it's support, it's all those kinds of things. You keep 100% of your business, but we're here to help you scale and grow that. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, right? At the same time, I got people who are like, hey, Tim, can I give you 10, 20% of this deal? It's a little bit easier on a per deal basis than like giving you equity in my entire company, you know, in order to coach and advise and mentor me through that. Like, people are willing to do that in order to make sure that they don't get kicked in the balls, right? And lose money, and at the same time make sure it's as successful as a project as it possibly can be. And they're willing to, they realize that giving up 10, 20% of their business can make a lot of sense that way. I think there's a lot of ways to carve it up.
It goes back to what we were saying before. If you're going to do something else, make sure you don't buy another job. And that's why I didn't want to operate another company. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, whether it's licensing it. My favorite is honestly just to provide the advisory services like you were talking about.
From a more coaching perspective. Join the mastermind, let me advise you, or like that kind of thing?
And then if there's people within your mastermind that are like, look, like, you're doing a lot for me, you're helping me, whatever, but like, can we partner more on this? And this is actually how I started the moving company. People were like, yeah, it's great. Like, we can pay you for coaching, whatever, but like, we want you in it with us. Like, you're in our market. We want you in it. And I was like, kick me a percentage.
Here's what it looks like.
So,
but at the same time, dude, they understand the value that you can bring, and they realize that, it goes back to my whole analogy of I'd rather have a quarter of a watermelon than 100% of a grape, right? And they realize, not saying you're coming in and taking 75% of the deal or anything, but like, if they own 75%, they give you up 25%, but now they have a watermelon, right? Now they're doing $2 million in revenue instead of $400,000 in revenue. It's like, it makes way more sense because now there's scale. Now they have the lifestyle with the additional revenue. That's something that's harder to quantify for people. Of like, dude, building a bigger business isn't just to make more money. It's easier to run a bigger business. Because you have 3 executives that can step in and run the company at any time. If one person gets hurt, or one person burns out, or one person wins the lottery and they're tired of coming to work and they quit, you got 2 other people that can run it until you hire another third person, right? It's like, it's easier for me to own a bigger apartment building, because if I have a 300-unit apartment building, I got 3 property managers instead of a 100-unit apartment building where I have 1. That one property manager quits. Oh shit, somebody's got to step in, me, my team, the third-party management, in order to fill that gap until we fill. Otherwise, on the 300 unit, if one of those managers quits, no problem. The other two can pick up the load until we hire that new person again.
Yeah.
You know, so same thing in business, dude. Once you have a bigger business, not only like the revenue's cool, but realistically, it's less stress.
Yep.
It's less liability.
Yep.
Right, and more lifestyle for you.
It's crazy. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from people. They're like, Mike, I'm doing 150,000 in revenue, and I want to get to 500. Like, I couldn't imagine doing more than I'm doing right now. I can't imagine tripling. And
you gotta do less.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Is like, it is easier to do $500,000 than 150. It's
way easier, dude.
It's hard for people to wrap their minds around that. And then it's also, you make more money in profit on 500 than you do at 150. Because I'm like, look,
because now you got scale.
Your
right?
office costs the same whether you do $10,000 a month or $100,000 a month. It's the same thing, right? Like, once you meet all of your overhead, all you're paying for after that is labor and material.
Yep.
You know, so it's like your margin goes up.
Everything else is variable, right?
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah, your fixed overhead stays the same. Everything else is variable based on how much revenue you do. Might as well do more, right? And then that means there's going to be more margin in what you do overall. So, no, dude, it's a fascinating. It's just there's so many parallels between real estate and you know, building businesses, rolling up companies, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
All right, so we are in the mix of this conversation. We decided to make it a 2-part series. So that is end of part 1. Give me your biggest takeaways. We hit on some really, really good stuff in there. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaways in the comment section. If you got some value out of this, please share it, like it. Make sure that you're subscribed to our channel and hit the notifications bell so that way you can get notified of part 2 next Sunday. Until next time, I'll see you on Spilled Beans. You want to top off on coffee?
Yeah.
Let's do a top off real quick.